Welcome to Adulting with Joyce Pring. Watch the full video of this episode on my channel, www.youtube.com/JoycePringTV. And if you want to level up your adulting game, check out joycepring.com/collections for my digital products and courses. I know that you started with music in YouTube. You started with, being an overachiever in school. You started with kind of just trying different things out and figuring things out along the way. And I love that you would always talk about how you don't really figure life out. You kind of just look for the clues and then start creating the plans along the way. And I think a lot of adulting people, a lot of us have gone through that or are going through that right now. So let's start with Lavendaire and how you began this journey of creating content for self-improvement and self-love. How did that all begin?
Ooh, okay. So I'll start back in college, I want to say. So I was originally studying business. So I went to college thinking I would get a job in entertainment or marketing. And my hobby was always music. I loved performing. And ever since high school, actually, I had like a YouTube channel where I would sing and play piano, but it was only a hobby. And when I was about to graduate, when you're like a junior and senior in college, everyone starts asking, oh, what do you want to do as a career? And I just felt the pressure was so heavy because I had no idea. And I did a lot of internships thinking, oh, I'm going to get a job in business or whatever. And anytime I did 7 internships total. And for all of them, I didn't like them. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go into the office every day. I don't like this lifestyle. It's not for me. But I just had this tugging feeling that this traditional path that everyone was pushing me towards, like all my peers and my parents, it wasn't for me. And so I had this rebellious era where I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't care what anyone says. And I'm just going to like start pursuing the things that I am interested in. So that was music at the time. So I did start pursuing music first. So I was trying to make it as an artist. I wrote songs. I came out with an album. And it was a very few hard years because you have like, first of all, I went from being like a overachieving type of student, like an A+ type student, to not having a job and telling people, oh, I'm doing music, I'm doing YouTube, right? And then of course my parents were like, that was a whole thing where, they didn't understand what I was doing, but something in me wanted to, at the very least, take a risk in my life to try to find a path that felt right for me. So it's like, I knew what was not right for me, but I didn't know what was right for me. And I think that's the hardest thing. And I think a lot of people navigate that in their 20s. So during that time, I got really into reading self-help books because I was all about how do I figure out life? How do I find my purpose? Asking all these like deep existential questions. And I was pursuing music for a couple years. I ended up just trying a lot of things. I tried acting. I tried freelancing in different like food festivals, doing PR and marketing. And I did a lot of fun projects at that time, but my life really was about trying everything. You know what I mean? Seeing what works. And I came out with an album in 2013 and I was really proud of it for my music, but I got to a certain point where it felt like there was no traction and I was really frustrated and I had like a mental breakdown. This is like, I've had so many mental breakdowns by this point, right? But I had this breakdown like, wow, this path that I thought was going to make me happy is not making me happy. It's not working. So what should I do? And it was at that point that I realized that although I wasn't anywhere close to being successful, I was still really proud of myself for taking this path that was really risky. I made a lot of friends, a lot of experiences that I never would have gotten if I were to take a corporate job, right? I had opportunities to be on like Chinese TV. I got to fly to Taiwan to shoot a short film. I got to do a lot of fun stuff. And I started to piece together this concept of like being the artist of your life, right? I was taking all these things I was learning from the books I was reading. I was in the path of trying to create my dream life, but in the very early stages. And I just decided, well, why don't I document this journey and share this on a new platform, on a new YouTube channel. And so that's what started Lavendaire. So April 2014, I started Lavendaire, and it was just like a new outlet for me to talk about life. Because at the time, there was not many people talking about self-help, personal growth on YouTube. Like there were people talking about spirituality, but that was a little too woo-woo for me at the time. And all the resources that I learned from were books written by much older people going through their midlife crisis. I felt like the creators were like authors who didn't look like me. They were like middle-aged, white male, writing to people who are going through their midlife crisis. But I was like 22, 23, and I was like, there's no one who looks like me, who's my age, talking about this on YouTube. And so I decided to bring this new topic to YouTube in a way that like I was used to, because I grew up watching fashion and beauty lifestyle YouTubers, but I wanted to talk about something deeper. Like I didn't want to talk, like I love the stuff on the surface, but I was like, well, let's talk about fears, how to overcome fears, how to find your purpose, all these topics that I didn't feel like people were talking about on YouTube at the time. So anyway, that's how I started Lavendaire. And what was different about it was I felt like for the first time, people really connected to the videos that I was posting. And for whatever reason, it just like started resonating with a lot of people. And then Lavendaire happened to take off. So yeah, so that's the journey of how it started.
Yeah, and I love it. I think I listened to a podcast episode where you did an interview where you said that, you know, it was a new thing because everyone that looked like you in that space would do other stuff. Like they would do beauty, they would do lifestyle, they would do, you know, travel and all these other things. But you were coming into it with the intention of really creating content for self-growth, self-improvement, self-reflection, which was a new path altogether. That's it for this episode of Adulting with Joyce Pring. If you liked this podcast, please don't forget to use the hashtag Adulting with Joyce Pring and also check out www.joycepring.com for the show notes and tag me on social media with you know it at Joyce Pring. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Paalam!